Call to order the Swanton Special Select Board meeting of 4 November 2024. It's 6:01. We'll start with a pledge of allegiance. Please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Agenda review, starting with Christina.
We need to add liquor control. Please.
That's right. A good thing you remembered.
We will add liquor control right after community and economic development. We don't, the individuals aren't here, right?
No,
How many?
just one.
Yeah.
Okay. Nicole?
None.
Earl?
No, all set.
I'm all set.
Good.
Steve? Anything to add? Brian?
I got one thing that would be under old business relative to, well, it's relative to the 4th Street property. And there was an outstanding bill that the engineers had found that for a subcontractor, so we can discuss that.
This is Atlas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We can discuss that when we get to 4th Street update.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. So we're moving on to the minutes. Regular select board meeting of October 15th, 2024. I'll entertain a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the regular select board meeting of October 15th, 2024. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Public comments. This section is for anybody who has comments for something that is not part of the meeting here tonight. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to law enforcement. Chief, come on up.
Alright, so as those are going around the table here, there were 99 incidents in the town in the month of October. The top 10 incident types were 26 directed patrols, 24 traffic stops, 9 suspicious person, 4 citizen assists, 4 welfare checks, 4 community outreach, 3 agency assists, 2 disorderly conduct, 2 crash, and 2 juvenile problems. Out of those 24 traffic stops, there were 14 tickets issued, 21 warnings. 12 tickets, out of the traffic stops themselves, there were 12 tickets issued and 21 warnings. I'm sorry, more specifically, there were 2 civil tickets also issued up at MVU.
What's a civil ticket?
Civil tickets like possession of tobacco
Oh.
for a juvenile. So, unfortunately, there's a pretty good problem up at MVU with that. So the SRO is dealing with that sort of thing on a regular basis. There were 8 arrests, 10 arrest charges representing 8 individuals, and 2 of those arrests were associated with traffic stops, and there were 8.7 hours of additional services. So we did, as Selectman Clark, Chair Clark asked, we focused up on 105. I personally went up there and did traffic at Russell and 105 where there is that pull-off there. So it is interesting. I mean, it's a little sketchy on those traffic stops because people are moving along and there's zero shoulder up there, so you are in the roadway. You know, people were moving along. For the most part, I mean, I was up there for, generally speaking, a few hours at a time, and the majority of vehicles were within reason, you know, in the 50-ish mile an hour range. But I did consistently find vehicles in the 60s, and I think one in the low 70s where tickets were issued. So it's certainly problematic. You know, we'll continue to focus on the traffic issue.
Can I ask a question on the arrest, Chief? You said you had 8 arrests.
those real serious type of crime that you arrested these people for?
No, so in thinking at it, because you'll see that for whatever reason the data poll didn't on the arrest summary. We were trying to mess with this. The CR arrest analysis, it's labeled, which is page 4. It's only reflecting the 2 arrests on an in-state warrant and 1 driving under the influence. But I want to say on the 1 DUI, there was also an arrest warrant. That was the arrest warrant, and there was 1 other charge associated with that. And I'm blanking on what it was. There was also the search warrant that we executed in the town where we made multiple arrests related to a drug case. So those weren't reflected in this, but it was related to a drug sales case.
Okay, thank you.
So those were the bulk of them were those arrests, because there were multiple people involved in that case also.
That was in the town?
Yes, I mean, we treat it as the village, but it's technically the town, is my understanding. So right on Elm Street there. The other things that I wanted to touch on were we've been really busy. I mean, we're pushing 3,000 incidents in total. We're also trying to get our Rule 20, it's now Rule 20 requirements, used to be called Rule 13 in the state of Vermont, but it's a minimum of 30 hours of training for each law enforcement officer to maintain their certification. So we are in a cycle with use of force training. As I mentioned before the meeting started, thankfully Burlington has allowed us to get that training with them, which is some good advanced training. So the guys are in that cycle currently, and anybody that doesn't get caught up will use their use of force instructor to try to catch the rest of our
Do you do
employees.
that all at once or in segments?
Well, we've done it, since I've been here, we've done it all at once the last 2
For
years.
30
So
hours.
we've been able to get an instructor to come up the first year. We were able to do it in the community room, and then, but it was a little bit of a task because we borrowed actually gym mats from the elementary school in order to get a matted surface to do the skills in. And then last year we did it down at Burlington because they have a little better space. And we did it all at once, but it's difficult because we just have a minimum level of staffing. So when we do it all at once like that, like I had to break and respond up to a call during the day when we did that training down there last year. This year they've allowed us to get into their block training segment. So Burlington will take traditionally officers off the road for a week at the time and go through a block training. We're getting a lot of training in over those 40 hours. So they've allowed us to jump into their use of force groups. I don't know if they're doing it as traditional block training because they have serious staffing issues also down there. But in any case, so we're training with the Burlington officers in their training space down in Burlington. We've had 2 sessions so far. There's going to be a 3rd in November. And then anybody we don't get into that last session in November, we're going to try to catch it in our own session, especially up here or down there where the instructors are going to be. But it is a trick. And then so we've also been through our firearms training cycle as far as rifle. We did pistol earlier in the summer. But that's also, I want to say, I think everybody, we did rifle in two groups, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. But again, it's a trick as far as organizing the staffing and coverage.
That's a yearly requirement?
Yes.
And if you have an instructor come up here, do you have to pay them, or does that drive? That's
No, they haven't. I offered to cover their salary, but they've graciously done it either on their own time or Burlington's covering their salary when they're down there. So
it's not the state doesn't cover it.
no, the state doesn't cover it. And there's a serious lack of instructors. I mean, the whole system right now is suffering from a lack of capacity. Vermont Police Academy has a lack of capacity. I mean, there are 2 training sessions to get new officers trained per year, and that is it. And then, for example, I've been asking for Like, for example, I was a use of force instructor for many, many years in Burlington, from the early 2000s until later in my career as I moved through the ranks, and then I stopped getting my certification. So for example, they had a recert at the police academy, and I asked their instructor if I could just go through recert, because I have a great deal of experience, hands-on experience on the street, and they said, no, you have to go through a full cert again because you've been expired for however long it's been. And I said, well, what is that going to happen? They said later in the year. I don't know if they're going to call it off this year. And then it's a week-long training. That's what it used to be. So, or multiple days of commitment.
Thing that you come, if you got yourself certified, you could do the training.
Yes, and then it's something you have to get recertified in every 2 years to maintain like instructor certification. So, but there's only maybe Grand Isle has one current instructor that I'm aware of. Perhaps St. Albans has one, but I'm not really sure if they're around it. So there's a lack of instructors at the top entry of talent.
What happens if you don't get certified? Yeah, I mean, if your staff doesn't get certified.
So so it's a mandatory, it's a 4-hour, for example, use of force is a 4-hour mandatory hands-on training per year. If you don't, you have to ask for a waiver from the police academy. The police academy will give you a waiver generally for 3 months in order to get those people back up to speed and get them certified. But it's difficult. That's another one of my problems, is especially with my part-time guys, because they're not working all the time. It is maintaining all their certifications in these different areas of expertise. Firearms being other. Another one that we're currently doing is CPR and first aid is no requirement this year. And then you have domestic violence, and you have fair and partial policing with alternative years that are requirements that generally the police academy puts those trainings together. So officers, for example, this year were able to participate in a Zoom training as far as the domestic violence training work this year. But the CPR first aid is another one. So the way we do that is it's a lengthy online training, and then we have an instructor come and do hands-on practical. So we're trying to arrange that hands-on practical now, looking at a few dates in November to get the officers through that. So that'll be a couple-hour commitment there. Do the hands-on practical for both CPR and first aid. And then the only other issue I wanted to touch on was recruiting and retention. I think I mentioned at last meeting we have one officer who's expressed that they want to go part-time from full-time to part-time status starting the new year. We do have a prospective officer that we're going to interview, I hope this Thursday, coming Thursday, but there's somebody with no prior experience, so they would have to go to the academy. And again, that's like a year-long process. So if they were able to attend the academy class in the spring, we wouldn't be looking at having them respond to calls for service until sometime in the fall, most likely, after they go through the police academy, get out, go through field training, and successfully complete field training. We do have a couple other individuals who have expressed interest in part-time status, but so right now we're looking at one full-time position that's still open, the additional position that we were able to get, and we'll see how that goes. But we are, looking at our comparable agencies, we have fallen behind as far as pay goes, and then the trick is retaining those employees. So we'll see. But we always look at our comparables as St. Albans being really our main comparable, and unfortunately we've fallen behind a little bit in pay comparing where they're company. But more broadly, looking at, like, I was able to pull pay scales from Milton, from St. Albans, from Vermont State Police, and I gave the Village Burlington's also, which Burlington's on the extreme high end of municipalities. But that just gives you an example as to who we're competing with, because a lot of these guys in Burlington, quite frankly, live in Swanton. There's a handful of them who live here that I would love to bring. But that's the issue, is the pay.
I would suspect you'd want to get paid a lot more to work down for also.
Yeah, but it's the same work wherever you go. It's really the same. You're dealing with the same issues.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I feel like this community tends to be a lot more supportive of law enforcement. Although I will say Burlington, there's a lot of, probably, unfortunately, the silent majority is very supportive of law enforcement, but you have this loud vocal minority that is anti-police, and you can see the results that have happened there.
Chief, you said we're falling a little bit behind on our pay scale. Are we running maybe 90% of the average or 80%? I'd like to.
I would have to really do the math on that to see exactly where we are, but where I want to say when I was looking at the math, we're roughly 15 to 20% behind.
That's significant.
Yeah. Yeah, but the other issue is we're a little different, right? So St. Albans is a union shop, Vermont State Police is a union shop, Milton is a union shop, so is Burlington. So they have a 15-step pay scale. So if you, when you're first hired, you start at step 1. Each anniversary, you're going through those 15 steps until you max out the pay scale, and then you'll jump down with rank, and that sort of thing. So we're not like that. So when I first came in, we were way behind in pay, and we made some adjustments. We roughly landed in the middle of St. Albans pay scales, what we were aiming for. But we need to stay competitive, and I think last year we didn't have the percentage increase that really matched what their increase was, which put us that much further behind. And so I'm looking at the current numbers for FY25, that's roughly where I'm sitting. We're at 15 to 20% on that.
Thanks, Pete. So get a few questions, G. The additional service, some of that might have been your time up on 105.
No, I don't think so. I think the majority, because when I was doing those details, it was during our 10 hours. I was up there during those commuting hours.
Okay.
So I didn't attribute that to additional services.
Okay.
As far as the modified patrol.
We doing any following the buses or anything? And which in fact
We
talked about
have-
at the beginning of the school year, but I don't know if
Yeah, we've done some of that, but I don't know, like this month, I'm not sure how much of that happened because we were short with officers out. Officer Cooper, one of our day shift officers, was out. He's married. So he took, 2.5 weeks off roughly for his wedding. And so we were scrambling a little bit as far as the early morning stuff goes, and later afternoon, he's adjusted a little bit. We've also I should mention this, Officer Gilbert is now out in the rotation to try to alleviate some of the stress on day shift and filling those open shifts on the weekend in the village. He's now entered the officer rotation. So in theory, Officer Cooper currently, for example, is working weekdays. Officer Gilbert weekends. They'll switch next month, but the problem is if one of those guys takes the day off, I'm the only officer on shift. So in addition to my administrative duties, I'm responding to calls for service, and I'm paying absolutely everything that's coming in. So that's the issue. I mean, it's a good example of the staffing issue.
Oh, absolutely. The one thing that would help, I think, the board members here is that whole discussion of the additional services. So we're seeing the 8.75, but if whoever's preparing this could give us
It is listed out.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it should be listed out in here.
It just helps me in trying to, talk with people.
Yeah, if you look at the last 2 pages of the report, those are the additional services. She didn't label it as such when she printed this out. But you've got the summary, similar to the summary on the first page. It looks like 2 directed patrols, 1 found property, 1 agency assist, 1 welfare check, 1 theft, 1 suspicious person, 1 VIN inspection. About all fires there, a citizen assist, and a traffic hazard.
So
And then those calls are that last page. You can see each of those calls. And then they occurred.
So they're basically done outside of our normal hours.
Contract hours.
Right.
Correct.
Okay, but that certainly helps. And
So you should have that on each of these, since we've been doing additional services.
okay.
On each of these reports, there should be a summary like this. The last couple pages should be those additional services.
Yeah. Are you picking these up off the 1-1?
No, some of them will be like, for
Okay.
example, the VIN inspection, right? I think I did that one, and it was somebody in the town who came in because who runs a mechanics operation in the town, and he was looking to gain title to a vehicle that had been abandoned at his business. But he comes in the middle of the day, so I could tell him, listen, you're outside contract hours. Go call Vermont State Police, but quite frankly, I don't even know what they're doing with inspections. I'm not sure that they offer that sort of thing. So I went up there and handled the VIN inspection.
So when you get a suspicious person, that was a call that what came to the police officer.
It most likely is. I would have to look at that specific incident to see that the incident number is referenced there. I mean, another one was the theft. And I would have to look at that again, but it's probably somebody you might even come into the office because we've had the discussion. The public just doesn't understand. They see SWAT police. Yeah. They think it's one agency for the town and village. Now realizing that Vermont State Police covers the majority of hours for the town. So it's hard to say no to people, quite frankly. I mean, I kind of like the additional services because then we could say, yep, we'll take care of it. And we'll just attribute it to additional services as a Fred hours.
Okay, one more for you. The annual training, I know it varies a little bit year to year, but approximately how many days for an officer to train?
It's 30 hours of required training.
So the different things you mentioned, like the firearms training, is part of that 30, or is that above and beyond
It's
that?
part of that 30.
Okay, so the requirement is they have to do 30.
But a lot of our officers will do more than that.
Okay, so yeah,
So it's 30 is the bare minimum in order to meet.
3 to 4 days total
Yes.
time, yeah.
But sometimes if officers, if you're really trying to give officers a great deal, we've had some officers, actually, a lot of our part-time officers, I think, had like 140 hours of training in a year. So not necessarily that we were sending him to all that training, but we can still attribute it to law enforcement training because he works full-time at another law enforcement agency just on the law enforcement capacity. So he was able to sort of train, while he was there or take time off and just engage in the training with this person. I thought.
Okay, and my last comment is if in the beginning of the budget season, so the whole pay thing, if that's part of the budget process, it probably should maybe to bring in some of the research you've done to share with us. So just because, it would be good to see what the differences are depending on.
I can send you the pay scales that I have from the other agencies so you can see them.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
You send them to Brian, you can send them on to us, but yeah.
And I assume you had some discussions about what direction you were going with, on the budget.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the main thing that we're looking at currently. I mean, obviously, we would always like to expand our training budget, although it's difficult. Again, the priority has to be covering the shifts on the road. And
What I'm saying, pay scale.
yeah, but we haven't really got that deep into it yet. So yes, I presented that to essentially the assistant village manager and the village manager. They're aware of that, and but I don't have the hard numbers yet as to what that would look like to impact the budget. But currently, we have a surplus again this year. I mean, the 3 years that I've been here, we've been under budget each year for various reasons. So this year, mainly because we've had that open position since July. I believe we budgeted it from July 1 forward. We haven't been able to fill that open position. And so that's really where the majority of the money goes to, is salary benefits. So we'll see what we can do as far as creatively using some of those funds to perhaps cover what we'll get for a salary increase.
Well, I think people are very supportive of the police department. And that's what people tell you, but taxes are high. So anything you could do would definitely be yeah, for sure. But we understand the situation we're in, and we got to compete out there for employees.
It's a tough market right now, and talking to those guys in Burlington, I was just there. They're quite frankly struggling, even offering the pay that they receive. So you'll see that pay scale out the labor goods. You'll see what those scales look like. Allison knows. Right.
We have come first.
No, I just, any of the departments on this side of the state or any place in Vermont offering slate-on bolts?
They are. So I want to say Milton and Burlington, it's maybe $15,000 sign-on bonus, and there may be, I would say one was $5,000. So maybe Vermont State Police is now offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus, which I think is, you've never done anything like that.
The conference I was at a couple of weeks ago, people on the other side of the state, across from New Hampshire, were competing with the New Hampshire departments. One of them is spending $30,000 for a Saigon.
I've heard the extreme end.
That's extreme.
There was an agency in California that I think is offering something absurd, like a $90,000 sign-on bonus. But also the way those sign-on bonuses are usually structured, so that you're not getting that in a lump sum.
Right.
There's a commitment and it's paid out over time.
Chief, if we have some money left over from the budget, has anyone ever considered giving the officers a bonus to the farmers? We can't bring our pay scale maybe up to where it should be, but when we have excess funds, maybe a little kick once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's an interesting idea. I don't know that it's ever been done that way previously as far as a bonus goes. And I'm not sure, as far as Fair Labor Standards Act and all that sort of thing, how it goes, just because
Just toss that out, it's a nice,
municipal employees, but
nice reward for someone.
yeah, traditionally what we have done like these last few years, we roll it over into a capital fund, right? So that's one of the items that the voters vote on, is rolling over funds into a capital fund. Or, for example, in Burlington, we would be told this is what you have left in your budget, and we would try to spend it down so that we were meeting our budget pretty much dead on every single year. We would essentially have no funds left the last month and a half, 2 months of the fiscal year. But we have been under, the last couple of years, but I want to say we rolled over into a capital fund and we were able to buy a cruiser with that money. So we have had problems, although I know some members of the public feel like we have too large a fleet. I mean, we've had substantial problems with some of our vehicles where we're down for extended periods of time, and that puts a stress on the fleet as far as making sure we have cars available for officers.
Just a thought.
Yeah, so some of those, that's generally what we have done, because it's not a huge amount of money traditionally, and I don't know, quite frankly, I don't know what it's gonna look like this year, but it's a small chunk that when it goes into that capital fund, it over, 3 or 4 years, then we accumulate enough to buy a cruiser.
So maybe we can use some of that capital for a bonus for our officers.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
I mean, I know
idea.
we have no say in that, but it certainly would help keep that police standard up there.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea.
If only one of the trustees was listening.
That's why I said it. International, got that, Susan?
All right, anything else? We've grilled the chief pretty good here. Anybody?
One of your officers did visit one of the team nights we had, and they had a lot of really great interactions with the youth, and so I'm very grateful for that. So thank you very much.
Good. And thanks for the prompt response the day
Yes.
Car doing the donuts and whatever else they were
Oh,
doing
yeah.
down in the lower part of the rec field at 3 in the afternoon. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you'll have that, but yeah, they were held accountable for that. So,
Thank you.
and thankfully, they weren't too confrontational. So,
Yeah, mate. Thank you, Chief.
yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
have a good night.
The place the tires sticking.
Yeah, I know. Luckily, it's all they were there, but
Oh, yeah.
they were having quite a field day here. All right. Health officer. Nothing to report. Quiet couple weeks. That's
Sort of.
reasonably quiet. We'll leave it at that. Sorry.
My day about the movements.
Highway Department, I will cover items next meeting. Old Town Business, boundary line adjustment update.
Really nothing to update. The 15th of November is coming along. I haven't received any comments, and I do have that notice that was posted. My understanding is the attorneys are doing their thing. And that's what, that was last week that I took that report. So, they're just sitting waiting for something to be happening. Carol's
So after that 15 November, basically, it's recording the paperwork and,
signing the paperwork.
no, I guess we got,
Toward.
yeah. So we had the meeting with DRB, so it's just getting everything logged in, and that'd be nice to have Ellen be us.
Now, we have to pay the surveyor, right? Or have we got a bill?
We paid them, but we sent the bill.
We sent it.
for the
So,
to the school.
yeah, and not
Three-way.
Yep, 3-way.
Okay. I asked Brian to put this one on again to see if we had any more thoughts, and just basically wanna see where we're at, whether heading into March. Of course, this is the wrong evening to be talking taxes with elections tomorrow, but I think the local option tax, if we're not careful, we're gonna run out of time if we decide to do anything. You know, do we wanna hold a public hearing maybe and get some public input? Do we not want to do anything and just let it die? Susie's here, and you know, one of the things that we talked about last time is if the village goes ahead, you know, then does that kind of kill our chance of doing one? It'd be real nice, and you know, Brian had a great suggestion. If we were to go ahead, you know, being able to work with the village and split in just one tax, but we haven't had that meeting with the village even to discuss that, and that's something we could do with a joint meeting with the village to have that discussion right out in the open and see where people are thinking. Just don't know where everybody's head is at, and open it up with those comments.
I've received a lot of questions from local area businesses about, you know, or not questions and concerns, I guess, you know, on additional tasks that they would have for reporting. Some of them are concerned about that because it's additional time that they have to spend for taxes. So just relaying that concern from them. I do think a public hearing for the businesses, at least, to ask questions, I think could be very useful for us as we continue to make a decision on that, if that's an avenue that we decide is right for the community.
Before we meet with the businesses, would we want to meet with the village and have that discussion?
Yeah, we should meet with the village to see what their feeling is on it and how we're gonna work this out. There's no way we're gonna have a tax in the town and the village.
Yeah.
No.
So I'm just one here
Okay.
tonight.
I'll get you in just a second. I want to let the board members here talk, and then be glad to invite you. Yep.
You know, there certainly was some pushback from the residents of Amesburg Village concerned about that tax. I think we're gonna hear the same thing. But we need to clarify this with the village before we have a public hearing.
The same, I'm saying.
I agree. I mean, I think that's what, because we can't honestly answer those questions, and I think it's very valid that we have to talk to the businesses to be able to give that voice, but we got to get that agreement, you know, first to really set in stone what we want to be doing, so that way we can push that forward with the businesses. But I agree. I think having it out in the open is the best way to do it, and having that open conversation is the best way to handle it.
And to your point, we're gonna get a lot of pushback because it is a tax, even if it's a 1% sales tax. You know, you think about how much money do you spend buying products inside the town as a whole, and how much does that impact each of our budgets? It's probably fairly low, but it doesn't matter. It's another tax, and it's a whole trying to sell it to the public, if it's even a route we go down. So, everyone's good. I'm glad.
Yeah, one more comment for you and Steve is, that, you know, how we're gonna use the money is gonna be a key part of whether people are gonna think it's a good idea.
No, absolutely, that's gonna
And
be.
we haven't even had that discussion.
Correct. That's
Well, I think we have, but anyway, don't forget, this cut of the tax is imported money. It's not just our local residents pay it, so it's a chance for us to get paid from the folks that come here to buy stuff too.
But
Got it. And you only use it when you buy something. It's not gonna hit you every single day.
Correct. Yeah, but it's part of getting that information out as part of trying to sell it if we go down that road. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it just comes back to too, and I know it was a point that was brought up in the last discussion, that a lot of the towns surrounding us are already doing this.
Yeah.
And I think the prime examples that we need to pull out of that is maybe speaking with some of those town select board as well, to understand what projects have you been able to fund, to bring that as examples, to say, look, this is what they were able to do with this tax because they have the additional proceeds, and what would that equate to, what would we have to build for homes to get this otherwise? Because I think that's the other side of it too, of like, okay, well that means, you know, we have to build another 160,000 or 160 homes just to make up this tax that would have been generated, to your point, from external parties coming into Swan, plus the residents. but otherwise this is how many it would take, and with our current growth, this is how long it would take to get there. So it really shows we're kind of jumping forward in our tax revenue that allows these projects to proceed.
Especially, it's a great way to look at that, because, so my first thought was, okay, so let's say your tax is $6,000 a year, but what actually goes to the town is a
Yeah.
very small portion of that. So let's say it's only, well, it's about 25%, so let's say it's 1,500. You divide that into 300,000, right, is what we heard that number. We want to verify all that. That's a awful lot of,
It's a lot of property, and
to get growth, that's a significant amount of growth to reach that kind of number. Anything else, and then we'll let Susie play. Susie.
That's okay, sorry. My name is Daniela. So I know we've talked about this amongst ourselves, and we are in agreement that we should do something jointly instead of, if we enact a tax at 1% and then you enact a tax at 1%, that means all the businesses in the village are now 2% taxed. So that's, you know, we don't want to do that to our businesses, to our people, our taxpayers that live here and go to the bistro and go to Bees on Broadway, go to the parts store. So that the working together is important. And then to answer Brendan's comment about what have other places around us been able to do the local option tax. So Bill has spoken with the city and the town of St. Albans, and so the town was able to build their new building that their town clerk's office is at, and they were also able to build their highway department building with their LOT. So that's just like one thing that you could do with that money, and also kind of tells you how much money is on the table to kind of collect.
Colchester built the new rec facility, so the local option tax. Of course, they got a Costco or whatever, but
Yeah,
they're not using it strictly for capital improvements.
right. And that's what I think would be beneficial for both of us, is to be able to have one local option tax, but where we're able to split the proceeds in some fashion that we could agree upon, where it goes to a capital fund where we can use those for improvements to the rec department, to 4th Street, to, you know, the complex, or however we
The Village Green.
the Village Green, yeah, Marble Mill, exactly. So, I mean, I know that I'm only one, so I'm not gonna speak for Jean or Adam, but I know that I think working together for a local option tax is a good idea for us and you, and our people will benefit from it.
And one of the things we discussed at our previous meeting is we have to have a legislative change
We do.
to make that happen.
We do.
So, do we have to have a joint meeting, or do we
I believe
see if we can, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I believe that we need to have a joint meeting. I believe that we need to come to the table, have a joint agreement, and then what we need to do is get Randy Brock, Bob Norris, Matt Walker, and Tom Oliver on board to push this, that villages in towns, or towns with villages, incorporated villages, were left behind in this LOT, the way that they set it up, and that, you know, yes, you guys can enact an LOT, reap the funds, and leave us behind. That's well within your right as it's written right now.
And
But-
vice versa.
And vice versa.
Yeah, and that's what we don't really want to do.
And that's exactly, and but that's, well, vice versa would be, we enact it, then you enact it, and now every business in the village has 2%, or every person who lives in the town is paying 2%. So we're not really leaving anybody behind, but now it's more of a burden upon the village residents and the people who come in the village to shop. So if you enact it, it leaves the village behind. If we enact it and then you enact it, it's a double burden. At least that's the way I see it.
Can I suggest then that maybe Brian and Bill talk, then if we do it, unless we have something else for a joint meeting, is we, at like our next meeting or their next meeting, we all show up for a joint part of it for just a few minutes, and then split off to whatever scheduled meeting is if we don't have other agenda items.
At the conference I was at a couple weeks ago,
which were my colleagues from throughout the state. There was about 45 to 50. And the towns that did have the local option tags had a village in them, but their village is not that well defined. Like the town runs the fire department, the town runs the police department. But they said they never realized that it could be this much of a problem. And they agreed that, yeah, it doesn't make sense. And they, in one other town that does have it, make sure that it goes to a project that benefits all of the town. But there's no formal agreement that says it's going to be that way. It's just the way it is. So they agreed that the legislature should go in and fix it. Be specific in the legislation what kind of formulas used or what have you. So yeah, we get our delegation and say, yeah, this seems that.
Okay, so you talk,
I'll get Bill
and see if we can maybe made it, do it at the beginning of our next meeting, because we're at the end of the November time frame.
Yeah. After tomorrow, well, our delegation is only not opposed, so
Okay.
we'll invite them to come as well.
Thank you, everybody. Good discussion. Thank you, Susie.
Thank you.
5C, town office repairs. Brian has a spreadsheet.
Okay, what we've got, first of all, the repairs, been some pretty different. The front office was put back together today. This returned to being the boardroom. I prepared a spreadsheet. We've got so far total bill $14,041. We've got the cleaning, the contractor we've got for cleaning dust bunnies. They were doing the entire office. They completed the front part, the clerk's office. They'll start tomorrow. There will be nobody in this building tomorrow, so we'll all be working holes. So they're going to do from this right through the back, and that total is $800.
That's all I
So they're fast too. We have the bill out. It will be outstanding with G&G Electric for the electrical work. And Peter Smith, the IT which we employ, has not sent us a bill. He's still working. He was working today. He's come back to move his stuff back where it wants to be. So that's what we've got. The electrician, I'm not sure how long he was here. The first day he was here. He was here for a couple of hours on Friday. I don't think that's going to get terribly large, though. Now the insurance claim adjuster has come up with a figure of $17,729.49. And I have reviewed that. Then he said, well, you can go out and get the bids and start, the process. I said, well, that's already been done. And the insurance company knows that, because I had lunch with one of their people last week when I was down at that conference, and I told her that, the work's already been done. She says, well, government has to continue working. So it's not going to affect. Right. And he was going to notify the insurance company, and then they're going to call Lee. So that's in the works, just to see what's going on there. So that's, I think everything came out pretty well. Hopefully it won't happen right off. Get done.
Yeah, I popped in here several times to see what was going on. Very interesting, and very fortunate we were able to get an electrician in here fairly quick, because there was an issue with the stove connection. But in the process, he also found a live wire that someone had left for possible hook into like an exhaust system or something over the stove. Behind the wall was actually a live 120 volt line, and so we fixed that and put an outlet there. So we have some options with a microwave, and actually could have been a microwave too, whatever. But there was a live wire there, so it's nice to get that fixed.
Yeah.
And all done fairly quickly, and I think
did a very nice job, what I saw. Pete's. Any other thoughts on this? If, you know, the insurance doesn't cover everything, which it's probably not gonna, it's gonna be close, as we have $20,000 in our maintenance, which I'm sure we've used some of it already, but there is a line item in the general budget under maintenance, so when we get out the numbers, we can take a look at that and see what else we might need to do or not there.
Really, probably should have done it when this thing was all pulled apart, but certainly next spring, we probably should repaint up front too. It's getting ripped. The paint's looking pretty rough. Now, compared to the new stuff, it looks rough.
Okay, thank you. So, thanks for the patience of all our employees while we bounced them around in here, and they still managed to conduct business.
And the patience of the public, you know, took them to come in and use the side entrance, and, but everything went well.
Okay, last meeting we talked a little about employee appraisals. Brian came up with some. I sent him some that I had from my previous time on the board. And did you put in the draft little plan? I don't see it yet.
Oh, probably. Let's see.
Yeah.
I can get that. If not, I did.
Because tonight I just kind of thinking people just grab this and put all in.
Yep.
I just threw together some thoughts based on our discussion and put down who possibly would get appraisal and a timeline to do it, and who would actually do the appraisals.
Thank you.
And I know you had found what the village had done as well.
We did bring them in case anybody else wanted to look at them.
Yes.
And I offered also just transparency. I brought the one that the rec department does for their employees as well. If they wanted to look at that.
I think it would be nice if we could get Christina to make some copies and people take this home and take a look and then put your thoughts together, and we can spend time at another meeting talking about it. Or we can spend some time tonight, because we'll have to look at and think about.
And then read it first.
Yeah, absolutely. We've waited this long, we can work on it, get it down to where we're all comfortable with it, move it into like.
Right, so we're gonna get a list of everybody that's gonna be appraised. We just got a couple of positions here.
Yes, what I did is, I thought it was going to be in the package, Brian and Son, to make copies is just put down some guidelines and just to get the starting point. And then if you're home reading it, and then come up with some other thoughts or scrap it all together and come up with something different. But just to get the process rolling. That way, hopefully, by the end of December, we've got what we think we're going to do. Start it off in January. That's it. You're welcome.
So Steve, Bill advises that we will be carrying forward the excess funds in this department budget. We can expect to increase the 2025 salaries to remain competitive.
That's good news. Hopefully that helps fill that position. So July, that's quite time for that.
So, when does that police budget end at
June.
in June?
All of
Okay.
our budgets go July.
Oh, you're all in June. Okay. That. So you're not gonna have a great tide year and again, no.
Alright.
Rough. Yeah.
All right. Do you have those copies?
They're coming.
Okay.
This
Well-
is the,
So that's homework. If someone's interested in helping out and moving it forward, or
this was the original. He's bringing the rest of it.
With the food.
yeah, we can jump back to this while she's making copies. Let's go on to the 4th Street property update. You want me to start? You start?
Sure, well, we had a team session last Friday morning with the engineers who explained what we're looking at, and that there's a substance in the ground that was what's the name of it?
Vanadium.
Vanadium. It may be naturally occurring, and then again, it may not be, and it's something that they're going to have to do further evaluation about. And so they're going to have to do more testing, and then see what the state would expect us to do if it is just localized to that property. But if the testing would find out in various other parts around the community that it's in various places that it's naturally occurring, so that would be handled different. So that, then Joel will text it.
Yeah, so basically, part of trying to move forward on 4th Street property, back in January, I think it was 2022. It may even be older than that. This is what was presented to the board at the time of a possible use, and it was agreed upon that recreation is what 4th Street property would be used for. Again, that was back a different board, so this board isn't necessarily held accountable to that. But it shows a parking area, shows a little pavilion, shuffleboard, a few other things. Mainly a couple of youth fields. The green would be the ball fields, and over the top of that is a couple of soccer fields. So as part of the discussion with the Atlas consultant is what is the use, and now that they've seen this plan, which may not be where we go with that, but at least they've got something. They're going to come back to us because the vanadium, it is a byproduct of petroleum and so on, but they said also in Vermont there's some higher levels of it. So 2 things they were going to come back to us is some possible additional sampling just to locate the vanadium on the site. Some of it is the middle field, between the parking lot and the field on the left, that middle field area is where they thought maybe higher levels of it. But they would have to take more samples. These samples would just be of soil samples. They're not borings or anything, so they could be done in the next 3-4 weeks until the frost comes. And then do some background testing to see if naturally in Swanton vanadium has higher levels. If that's the case, then the state may say you don't need to do any cleanup. Possible cleanup options are removing some material and taking it away to an appropriate landfill that'll take it. Most of those are out of state, maybe Coventry. Another process is you basically burn the soil and you burn off the vanadium. The other thing they said could be done, but I don't think it's really appropriate here, is you could bury it. You could put 18 inches of fill over it. But raising that elevation up there then could get awkward with the neighbors on the north side. Then it just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
What does vanadium do? Is it a carcinogen? Or?
It's a heavy metal, and when you look it up, it is low toxicity, but the levels that the state requires is very low. So more needs to be done in order to figure out how much work needs to be done there. And then after the testing, they have to go to the state. We, using them as a consultant, have to go to the state and get an evaluation of possible corrective action. So basically, proposals made on what to do for any of the contaminants there, and in relation to what we're trying to use the property for. And the state takes a look at that, and then comes back, and then we complete what's called a corrective action plan.
So those are the steps that need to take place, but we can't even get there if we don't take some more samples. We're gonna work this, we just talked to them on Friday. They were gonna come back to us with an estimate to do some additional sampling, and share the results with us after that, so.
So is this a concern of like when the kids are running around, they're going to kick this up out of the dirt, or is this a concern of when we dig and build these things is when we bring it out?
It's for this type of use, the kids there. And when you talk about the exposure levels, you're talking someone that's going to play maybe 12 soccer games in the fall.
Yeah.
Very, very low. The problem is the exposure level, or not the exposure level, but the contamination level is so low that it's in the ground. You got to deal with it. But when you actually hear about the cancer risk was, you could actually hire a toxicologist to take a look at that and say, okay, this child between ages 7 and 10 might be on this field 20 times for 20 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the possible exposure during that time frame. And here's the risk, and then you present that to the state. That's another option you could take. But I think the best way for us to go forward is to take some more sample out and then see
Where we go from there. Is the level exceptionally high, or is it just no? So it's probably a matter of a slightly removal, they recap it. Might be the way that end up straight.
removal and replace them.
Yeah, yes. So it wouldn't be a wicked costly thing to do.
Except for
And
depending on the amount of material and how far we got to
How
haul
far
it.
you gotta
And then
haul,
what do those places, some of them, depending on whether they charge you or whether they just use it for actual cover on them. And so,
So they're gonna get back.
yeah, hopefully we have it for the next meeting because frost will be in the ground here, it might end in December probably.
Is the level that the state has imposed, is that different from the federal level?
I think it is the EPA level, I think.
If they're not gonna do like the PCB thing on it, that the state has their level to kids have theirs, so.
I don't believe so, but we will ask that question before we go forward with anything, because I'm quite sure this is an EPA level, but that's a great question. I'll check that. But it was good discussion with those guys, and
was.
if we want to move forward, we've got to do something. So
While we're still on that topic, if I may, one of the partners that have reached out to me as the executive director of recreation has brought together a concept that they feel would might be a viable use if we do have to cap a portion of it. And I'm just going to pass this down for you guys to look at it. That's just one of the many pictures. But this is an outdoor fitness court, and this was actually brought to my attention by our health insurance provider, which is MVP, and right now they're working on a fitness campaign, and they identified Swanton as being a great place to pioneer this project in Vermont. So if we did decide that we had to cap it, that might be an option to further explore moving forward.
great. I think that's good. We get the additional testing, and then we can see what the best way to remedy the problem is. Okay. 4th Street property bill.
Yeah. This resurrected, apparently Atlas had to contract a sub with Button Underground Locating. And it should have been included in their bill, but they inadvertently left it off. It's $504.66. It's all related to the testing that was done at the 4th Street property. So if you wanted to pay this, or what you would like to, they would obviously like to have us pay them, or any, it's like yeah, since they're going to be quoting us anyway, so
Well, also we're gonna have to pay it, I mean.
Pay there and show us the place.
It's just put it in their next estimate, bury it somewhere. I think we should go ahead and, I mean, it'd be nice if Atlas had actually put like a cover letter on it, but it does say bill to Atlas Technical Consultants, so and that was a discussion you had with Atlas.
yeah.
Thank
That
Well,
entertain
you want a motion to pay the bill?
$504.66.
We have a budget for Fourth Street, so, I'll move that we pay the bill for the amount of $504.66.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded to pay $504.66. This wasn't part of the motion, but I think it should go to Atlas.
Yeah.
Atlas Consultant. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Ayes have it, thank you.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, new town business. Village trustee Kelleher, chair of the, what's that?
May I come sit at your table?
You can, and I think in this case, you are coming as chair of the,
Chair?
yes,
I'm the
beautification committee of the Swanton
But I've been
Advancement.
told I cannot take my hat off. It has to stay on. No, I reckon like being a trustee to wearing a hat, and I guess I always have to wear it. I can't just take it off when I want to.
You
but I'm
could-
coming asking as beautification chair.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I think you
Yeah.
do it, is you say, I'm here representing the Swanton Enhancement Committee, Beautification
Yeah.
Committee. I'm also
Yes, I
trustee,
am also a trustee, but
Okay,
today
just-
I'm not going to be the trustee of it.
because I am treasurer for that organization,
Yes.
so I'm gonna abstain from any voting on this,
But go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to come. So the Beautification Committee respectfully requests the continuation of the $3,000 in funding support that you guys have provided to the Beautification Committee in the past. These, your funds, along with other funds, which I'll explain in a moment, go to support projects and improvements that we've made in Swanton to make this a more beautiful and welcoming community. So our annual budget is $50,000. This is sourced through a combination of generous contributions, $5,000 which come from the village trustees, $2,000 which comes from an endowment from Don and Earl Taylor, and approximately $5,000 which is donations from our community supporters. So your $3,000 is critical to our successes and enables us to enhance many of the green spaces for visual appeal throughout the village and town. So where has your $3,000 gone? Well, your $3,000 this year went to boxes and plantings and tuckers office, as well as that beautiful garden we put in over at the library with the help of Kevin and his guys from the highway department. They helped dig it out. And the students from the Sisquoia helped put in the topsoil and the gravel for the bikes. The bike rack is now, and a little walking path to bring the books back. As well as the planters that are in front of the library and the ones that are on the library stairs, the front door, as well as helping to pay for Linda Frost to water the flowers that we have. So we've also, obviously, we do green space, the village green, we do the Veterans Park. We have a little spot that we cleaned up over on Merchants Road by the laundromat as we're heading down the hill towards the VFW. We do Canada Street, Bob's One Stop. I know that's not what it's called anymore, but Bob One Stop, St. Marie's, the hairdressing salon on First Street, as well as the village complex. And we also do the bridge boxes and the terminus at the LERT, the constant the little awkward spot.
The greats.
Bridges, yeah. So that's where all the money goes, and then we plant 10 new trees every year. This year we just planted 10 trees and shrubs on Canada Street, right around where Dan Briat lives. I know, that makes such a good. Next year, your funds will help us purchase a 42-inch pot for the library, which will then allow me to move 2 of those pots down onto River Lane over by the canoe access uptake, where I would like to put 2 picnic tables and 2 pots to allow that to be a nice area for Northwest Canoe access and just residents to have like a picnic lunch in that area. As well as we're planning on making more adding more plants to the garden at the library. And here at Anybody's or so moved that you would like to see more flowers here at the town. So what else? Right?
I just jump in and say Susie's taken over a hand
Oh yeah.
chairing the committee and
And Hank is still very much involved. He's currently working on the 2025 tree grant. We did not win it last year, but we're hoping to get it this year. And this year, if we get the tree grant, our plan is to take down the 8 conifers that are in the village green and replace them with hardwood trees instead. I was told by Hank, who worked with Frank Chamoy, that those trees need to come down. So we're going to be making a 5-year plan on all of the parks, but how are we going to, change out trees? How are we going to change out plantings? What are we going to do to keep these updated and keep our green spaces, right?
Chris, the committee has done an outstanding.
Thank you.
Really have. You made Swanton beautiful.
Yeah.
And the flower you had out here,
unbelievable.
yeah. I mean, it filled up the whole gracious and gorgeous, especially north. So, just to provide, we put this on the warning, don't we? The 3,000.
This, I checked into that. This went, and I was a little surprised, but it was under the highway department. And that way,
It has to be, Joel, because the village was putting in their share and the town was gonna put in their share.
that's
So if
one
we
way.
go on a general budget, then that means the village, was gonna be paying.
No, I understand. It doesn't have to be that way. That's the way we chose to do it.
Yeah.
So that didn't happen. Yes, so it went under the highway department. I didn't know if it came out of the special funds or not, because this was all part of a 10-year plan of additional plantings and different things. And I guess what I'm hearing and I didn't realize this piece of it, this almost sounds like this is something that could be sustained annually if indeed you're looking at a $15,000 budget. From my role in the Swan Enhancement Project, I see all the bills and just the cost of watering now is a significant cost. The number of plants that were purchased last year, huge. The whole effort just to get them and then put in, and it's huge. It's great. It looks wonderful.
We've already done a pre-order with H&Bs for next year, which does not include the bridge boxes and the hanging planters, the 12 hanging planters. So just to put flowers here and all the other various locations that I mentioned, it's almost $4,000.
Could you define sustainment though? Does that mean that we're trying to commit for the next 5 years?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
I'm just asking you to recommit to sustain what you gave me last year, to give it to me this year. I'm not saying you need to give it to me for 5 years. I just
Okay.
No, but
That's fine.
let me jump in. I'm the one who used that term. When you look at what the budget you're talking
Oh, yeah.
about,
I mean,
you're
would
gonna
I
need
like you
that.
to?
You're gonna
I
need
would.
that. Well, that's what I'm getting at. I just want the board to think about if we're gonna have this magnitude. And I like that. I think it's a great improvement.
Because otherwise,
I
I'm going to come
I
to you
just see
every
it
year.
as it. I don't see this as a one-time.
Yeah, I'll come back next year and ask you for more money.
Yeah.
So you would
That's fine. That's not what I'm trying to say. Absolutely.
Well, you've done a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That looks wow.
Thank you. So we are not just, we're going to get those big 42-inch planters that you see in St. Albans. We're going to put one at the library on that corner, but we're also going to put one over by the Chamber of Commerce. And I think we're talking about somewhere either in the Village Green or that area, that awkward area that's over by the VFW going up to Merchants Row, like somewhere in that area. And then they're also working with a young Eagle Scout to put in the artboard on the VFW property, which we will then landscape when that's in. So we'll put the plantings and the flowers down.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in on that. It's not an art wall like the others.
Oh,
where
it's
people,
not. No,
it's
yeah. Separate.
it's put up there for a mural that
Yeah.
has some type of historical or something, Swanton historical
theme to it.
It will
It's
stay
not-
consistent.
It's not one that, to be,
Right.
you know, in 5 years, we might say it's time to change it or whatever, but the VFW said that property could be used,
Right.
but wanted to make sure that it wasn't,
Right. The board belongs to the VFW. It does not belong to SPAN.
and we want to get some local
Right.
artist, hopefully, to come up with some nice thing to help make that whole hill look better as you come up the bridge. Yes.
Yeah. So, anyways, I thank you for considering my request. With your help, we make Swanton a most beautiful and vibrant spot, which a lot of people were talking about, I understand, in other towns and meetings that people have attended.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the 3,000,
Well, when we say approve it, are we approving it for next year's budget?
back to the budget, the 2025 budget.
So our approval is to put it in the budget.
Yes.
Yes, Steve, that's a great
Yeah,
clarification.
I'd like to make, I'd make a motion that we include this in our 2025 budget
On the highway budget.
forever.
Yeah, okay.
And then I'll second that.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Well, I think you deserve 1,000 more.
Thank you.
I really do. I'm serious. You know, because you've done
I
such
would
a good
take it.
job, and I know what the cost of flowers are and stuff like that. So, you know, if you're going to expand the area and you've got these youth helping you, I mean, it makes all the difference. You just feel better driving through town. And if you feel better, then people are going to feel better about the community as a whole.
Yeah.
And I would, if you guys are willing, I'd go another 1,000. Because that's small peanuts compared to a lot of other budgets. It's just, nobody's going to notice it in their tax bill.
But you're saying, well, you'd ask us to consider increasing it when we do our budget.
Well, if you want to wait till then, but I would do it right now myself, but if you want to wait till then, that's fine.
I'm just thinking about the mechanics of it.
This, that's all. Yes, it's good.
Motion's been made and seconded. There's discussion of another 1,000. Do we want to rescind the motion and make one right now to put a $4,000 line item in the 2025 budget?
I'll make that though.
But,
Whoops, you gotta rescind the other one
Yep,
first.
yep.
Yeah. Get
I don't know, that's up, you want to,
Sure.
okay?
I'm okay with that.
No, I'd say you could end the motion.
Now, is it rescinded now according to the minutes? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, we haven't voted on it.
Yeah.
And they both have agreed, so entertain a motion for $4,000 be added to the 2025 highway budget for the beautification committee.
I'll make that motion.
For a second.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Actually, I abstain. Yeah, I abstain. So ayes have it. Very good. There.
All right.
How's that?
Thank you. That's
Got a
great.
board very appreciative of
Thank
the
you. I
work.
appreciate you guys.
Kick another 1,000.
I'll have to ask the boys.
There we go.
Well, you do such a good job, and people that do good work should get paid well.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's all right.
I know it's getting paid. We're all
I'm just gonna
volunteers.
say,
But
Well, I know you're not getting
getting
paid, but I
getting
mean,
the extra $1,000 to put more flowers somewhere,
Yeah.
you know, or to pay Linda because we're keep adding
good.
just that,
flowers
just
to a
that,
different place.
if we do what we want to on that wall there, that behind that wall, and
Yeah.
I've seen some projections of what people are thinking.
And
it's
you
gonna
might
make
need a
up
little
big
extra
difference.
money.
Big
It's gonna make up
difference.
the gap.
Yeah.
And, you know, the return on investment is just tremendous.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're also going to put some boxes up over at the new bistro and at the bakery. So we're definitely
Yeah. And,
going to use it.
you know, me brought that up, but, what Gordon and, Susie did them building
Oh, God.
something
Yeah,
else.
it's beautiful. Yeah.
And, you know, I've been a few times and people have, they're trying, you know, there's a lot of people. So hopefully it's going to be successful because I need to update you.
Well, I agree. Agree. Do you want me to just stay right here for the next one?
Well, you can. New town business, item 6B, recommendation of town health officer to the state health commissioner. One thing we talked about, did we get a second?
No, we did not.
Okay. So we didn't get a second applicant, but everybody, I believe, is aware, but I want to make sure that Susie has applied for the health officer position.
Wasn't very well.
What's that?
I just need another hat, Steve.
I'm sure that.
He's took a.
Do we have a
Right.
copy of her letter here?
Yeah. This is, Aaron,
It's the last email I got.
Oh, that's the before?
Yeah.
To the tank.
Anybody else?
Might as well hand look around.
Yes, Angela.
So out.
I don't know.
Please. That one not.
Is it the more? Just,
I'm not there.
married up. Correct. Good. We have Steve just a minute, yeah.
Yeah. So fun.
I do have a question for you. So
To get some
why would you be interested in it? Just because it's something that you feel
IT for help numbers. I felt like it could help. I know most of my focus has been village focus, and I think this is a thing to do in a town. Also, in speaking with our chief, he suggested that having somebody like me would be helpful for him and our officers, and a lot of the things that they deal with is health officer related, because of my tenets for the rules and following protocols, would be helpful to him. So, that's why I am.
Well, my second question is, do you have time for all these activities?
I was splitting.
Okay, good.
I'm retired young. Well, yeah, I was not retired from the Army when I was 33 and ever. So I really, I do genealogy to chemocystis 5 hours a week. Then the stuff for beatification is really the busy season for the growing season. I promoted SWAT, or it is, every other month, but so like me. And then my trustee is, I guess, as much or as less as I'd like to give. I like to give a lot because that's kind of person I am. And, so it will be a balance between health officer, trustee, with us to balance for me. Do we say anything for the something?
We do. Yeah, okay, we're good.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think something.
Sometimes we're probably short. I mean, this is, we go well, and then I think one thing we got to be careful of, and I got to ask Brian this question, is how many calls do we get from the police right now for health officer support? I haven't received any since even though I'm not sure what, and I know Amber would call the police and looking for their support should go in somebody's place that they be less desirable. Then once for that, they will police on for hours. But that's what I heard you just say, right?
Yes, because the chief basically said that there are few instances where, at least when he was in Farrington, having health officer be able to help in so the places that should be uninhabitable, for which in oftentimes and trying to figure out how to say this politely, are in draw or criminal activity, should be able, as the health officer, to go in and be able to say that a place is uninhabitable because of the health officer would allow for the criminal activity misuse in that neighborhood. Is that
Yeah, I fully understand that. It's, yeah.
So we'd like to.
Yeah. I was just curious how many calls we respond to just because of the way you worded that from the chief, and if some of that's more from his time in Burlington.
He has several houses here that he thinks it would be helpful if there was a more
Health aspect.
health aspect taken in certain, without giving me names.
So I understand. So then what we have to make sure is we just have the training and the authority to do that kind of thing. There was one, and this was back a couple of years, where there was sort of on First Street. They called gear kind of holding the belt box. So they need the health officer to go there. And I said, well, she can't get hold of her. And then I was asked, but the officer just called me. Well, I was telling me, sure, would you like to come over? So, no, I think that's up to people in the hotel. But I guess they did make them, or I will see the dude. Okay.
asking a question. I'll go for any other questions. None? Is this something we want to do, or do we want to discuss it in executive session and make a decision then? Ask the board members how you want to handle this. I'll entertain a motion either way. It's like we need to go into executive session, but I do have a question for Brian. Does we make a motion to have a range set to the state right? We recommend that us they because we actually can't.
I can have that in that is that the ring to apply and that
Sure.
have you applying it. So I understand about how
And then yes, the board recommend to it's stop here on Wednesday, and we gotta have we fill up and jog.
about it. That's okay.
Well, I'll make a motion to recommend some people to post the made or a second.
I'll second that.
Also made and seconded. Any further discussion? Here none. All those in favor state aye. Aye. Oh, so moved. Thank you, sir.
Nathan, it's nice if you think that.
Thanks for all that you do it for
Swan, sir.
Joel, I didn't call the thank
Appreciate
you very much.
You're on the night. Get on a topic truck. All right. Thanks so much. Have a good night.
Sorry. With economic development, well, something to report. We're going to have a new flower shop open, the new forests in the opening along First Street. And that should be happening currently. So we're on First Street, where the Penny Bike Insurance Agency, that's the sponsor credit there. Yeah, that's the forest stock years ago. Well, it's years ago. It was a deal. That's right. So that's another new business. Young people too. Yeah, go to a nasty. Very good. To something. Yes. No, I mean either. We're talking under 30. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Quite. I mean, so that's that. So let's put to what we have going. Okay, Fox. So then we will go into the liquor control board. I entertain a motion. I'll move. We enter into the liquor board, click or stick.
To exit.
Exit that'll be a neat order.
Yeah, that's right. Enjoy. So do some of that's for those.
Motions have been made to exit the select board meeting and enter the liquor control board. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. This is application for Stewart Shop, which Stewart Shops purchase all of the jollies and with the license new. So Stewart's it's not. And it's that the one on Freddie. It's one on First Street, the Shell station on First Street. They're going to change the name, and they will be changing the names. I'm not sure exactly when. They, according to their press release, they're going to be making transitions. So that's any violations of the word. No. I'll entertain a motion.
So he's done it.
They're scared wall. You've never tossed out. So I'm not looking into the glass or anything, just bring it over. I sound like makers here.
So it's
And the liquors.
I'm playing the children.
Yeah, so it can't figure the clock. Nope. The destruction creates.
Still right here. A second class cannabis tobacco. So it took
There. Now that, this
and the tobacco substitute.
white rate to that.
So second class license tobacco and tobacco sauce. I'll make that a motion to accept the permit as just described.
Going in a second. The whole second. Most of them made and seconded to crew the Stewart liquor license application. 3 parts of it. Any other discussion? Hear none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Down. Any other necessary business? Push to con. No, I said we're gonna get out of the liquor. We're gonna get out of liquor control.
I make a motion to
A second, though, Steve had a comment. That's fine. Well, I just want to talk about the new bakery. So, just a second. But that's what I think. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to exit liquor control board.
Then all second. We're gonna end it back as our meeting.
I make a motion to go back into our regular scheduled select board meeting.
Okay, no, motion been made and seconded to exit the liquor control board and resume our select board meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, so moved. Diana, necessary business. Steve, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just want to announce that I'm sure everybody knows about that lives here, but little bakery's open all the years on the restaurant. I got to say, the coffee to wake up.
Where this goes.
She's got trade line of ice cream and whatever. So that's another welcome improvement to our downtown. What is called and
Shop opening in Foreman this weekend. So you got during it. Yeah, that's great. Great.
yeah.
All right, thank you, Steve. Correspondence? None.
I'm just trying to.
Public comment? The only thing I gotta say, if anyone's watching tonight, get out and vote, and hopefully everything goes relatively smooth tomorrow for interest. Upcoming events. Upcoming events.
Upcoming events. Tuesday, which is tomorrow, November 5th, is Election Day. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Town offices will be closed. Monday, November 11th, 2024, is the Veterans Day holiday. Office and operations will be closed. Tuesday, November 19th, will be a regular select board meeting at 6 p.m. here at the town office and by Zoom. Monday, November 25th, 2024, will be a planning commission meeting, 5 p.m., town offices and Zoom. Thursday, November 28th, and Friday, November 29th, will be a Thanksgiving holiday. Office and operations here at the town office will be closed.
Thank you very much. Executive session, you have personnel, you got real estate, we've got contract.
I move that we enter executive session for the select board to receive confidential contract, personnel, and real estate information for which the premature disclosure of it to the general public would clearly place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage.
Now here's second.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. You need to do a roll call vote, Steve.